Good morning, everyone. Guess what? It's your regular Knowledge Empowers podcast. And as always, with you is me, Kat. 안녕하세요. And then we have Baruch.
Hello, hello, hello.
And we have Kolaj Beg. Hello, Kolaj.
Dobrana. Good morning, everyone. Hello.
He disappeared on the last episode, but he is back.
And we were talking about you, Kolaj. Yeah, we were saying it's
in a good way. I know I'm fantastic, so it could have been.
Well, we just said it's a mystery why you are away, and maybe you will share it today,
and maybe not
podcast, or maybe not.
Well, we can share the news. I mean, I guess everybody in my surrounding knows, so it's not a mystery for close people. Anyway, so I became a daddy. So we have a newborn in our household right now.
A little minion.
Yeah. So we went this way on this endeavor together with Lenka. Yeah, we brought us a baby. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Kolaj is a daddy.
Yeah, we have a first parent on this podcast, finally.
And last? Anywho,
so we will start with the 3 facts as usual.
Woohoo.
Okay, so the first fact, one of the facts which I've discovered recently, thanks to Lenka, is that when baby is in the belly and mom is eating some foods, the baby can do grimaces based on the foods. So when there was the study showing that when mom was eating kale, which is a bit bitter, the baby wasn't so happy. So the grimace was like, not really cool ones. But when mom was eating carrots, the baby was smiling. So they were doing
because carrots were dying.
And no, because carrots are sweet.
Crying.
No, because carrots are sweet. So it seems that even when mom is already just eating the food, it already can impact the baby in some way, or the baby feels it.
So you can basically teach the baby what is good food when it is in the belly.
I guess so. Although it's not that it likes it anyway. You know, like based on
Eat the veggie now.
No kale for me, thank you.
Okay, yeah. The second fact I have ready is that we've caused global warming on the moon as well.
Huh?
Yeah, I've heard about that, yeah.
Yeah, so we increased the temperature of the moon by 2 degrees Celsius.
How?
Because our astronauts, when landing and running around, they've cleared some dust. And this dust actually uncleared some heavy, dark flooring. When something is black, it absorbs the sunlight much better. So that's how actually the atmosphere, if we can call it atmosphere, the surrounding of the moon increased by 2 degrees Celsius, because there are now tiles of exposed rock, which is black, and it warms up.
Oh, so we need to send the astronauts back and put the dust back.
Yep, but I mean, it's hard to put dust back, you know, like
go and tidy it up.
Imagine the astronauts with brooms, like sweeping.
Yeah. Maybe they could fly around on those. First few witches, you know, like they will jump and then they will fly. Yeah, and the third fact is connected to brain, and this one is a bit complex. So we know that we have left and right hemisphere, and these 2 hemispheres talk to each other through corpus callosum. It's a small part in the brain where these lines are actually connected.
It's like, hey, what's up, dude? I'm fine. What's over there?
Yeah,
it's a communication center.
But in such way that if like each hemisphere is dedicated to something. So if you are talking and if you want to do something, there needs to be a discussion, you know, between these 2 hemispheres, and it goes through corpus callosum, through this part. And of course, the bigger this part, the better. So it means that if you have bigger this corpus callosum, you can multitask better, like you can do with one hand something and while talking to somebody else. The interesting part about this fact is that this corpus callosum can get bigger. There was this study that the kids who were raised in families where they were able to talk about the emotions and feelings and all this stuff, they had bigger corpus callosum, and therefore they were better at multitasking than other.
But,
Whoa.
so in this case, bigger means better,
Yes.
I guess. Okay.
Yes, because you can relay more information at the same time.
Okay. Because I've heard, like, for example, brain, that humans have brain bigger than, I don't know, think of an animal. But also there are studies that prove, like, doesn't matter if you have a bigger brain, it doesn't mean that it's automatically more powerful. Or
Yep, exactly. It means there is a lot when it comes to nuances, but yeah, in this case, if this center is bigger so far based on the studies, it seems that you are better at coordination, between text and motor functions, or talking this or being creative or something like that. So yep, in this case, the bigger the better. Let your children talk about emotions and feelings in your families, and they have a better chance to grow it.
And we will observe Daddy Collage. How well you guys will talk about emotions at your household, and then we will watch your little one.
we'll come with a measuring tape and measure the corpus.
Poor baby.
Brain surgery.
Did it grow? Is it bigger? Okie doke. Hope you are wiser now, guys. Okay, today's topic is burnout.
Oh no.
Oh no. We will not cover it in one episode because this topic is a bit lengthy. I will first start about the burn definition. We'll talk a little bit about the difference between stress and a burnout. We will cover the burnout phases, and then we will talk about prevention. Very important. Prevention. Those who are watching us on YouTube, my eyes will go up because that's where I have my notes. But those who are listening, you guys are good. So let's first talk about what is a burnout. Guys, what do you know what is burnout, or what do you guys think is a burnout?
Baruch, go ahead.
Is it like, is it like emotional burnout? Like once you were telling us a story about a lady that doesn't feel any emotions anymore because she was so emotionally exhausted and overexerted. So that's what I imagine. And maybe also in terms of, your energy levels, like you don't have enough energy to do stuff that you usually had.
I would describe it as already a clinical medical situation, sort of a disease, although it's not like you can't catch it, but you develop it throughout the time, which impacts your mostly mental system, but then mental and or the psychological and physiological is interconnected, so it will have effect on your health in physical terms as well.
Correct. You literally covered it. I don't need to add anything to it. And the term burnout itself was coined by Herbert Freudenberger. And he literally sort of created like a 12 phases that person goes through, not necessarily like one by one, but you can then have a collection and then you get burnout. But it's really, like Colin said, it's connected to your emotions, and then you will have physical symptoms. Let me first say, if you are burnout, you would end up in a hospital. To get out of the burnout really depends on personality, and it can take between 6 months to 2 to 3 years to fully recover. So it's not that easy.
So you said you would end up in a hospital. Is that like Does it mean if you don't end up in a hospital, it's not a burnout?
I would say it's something like when you have depression and you feel depressed versus when you have clinical depression. Like that, you may feel depressed for a day, you may feel burned out because of your job for a month, because like you overexerted yourself and you don't have energy, and you've lost the will, motivation, etc., etc., etc. But it may not reach the stages or the depth of a clinical depression when you are not willing to get out of the bed and you stop eating and stuff like that. So you can feel burnt out and not being in that clinical burnout yet. So that's how I understood it. Like, okay, so you may feel the symptoms, but you may not be there yet.
And exactly when we will be talking about the symptoms, about the phases, that will actually answer your question as well, because we will go into details of each phase so people will better understand about the feelings and physical symptoms, etc. Let me ask you another question, guys. Do you know the difference between stress versus burnout?
I'd rather would compare it to depression, as Kolach said. Like it's much more similar to me. I mean, or maybe a combination of depression and stress, and that what burnout is. I don't know. So I think stress is kind of like a short-term thing. So like if you're stressed for, let's say, couple of minutes, or let's say an hour maximum, and then you get back to your normal. But with burnout, you're constantly in that stage.
I would say that the stress is one of the reasons you can get into the burnout, but the stress is causing different sort of bodily functions than burnout. Like stress is causing you to be really active, to be quick, to act, or to be in rush, and like execute to fight, flight, or something like that. But burnout is that aftermath. I would say that you've had enough and your body can't cope with more stress, or you can switch off, like the cause of the stress is not there anymore, and that's when this burnout kicks in or can kick in.
Yeah, we can say like stress is going uphill, and with stress you usually might have some physical symptoms like risk of a heart attack, for example, because of a high, versus the burnout is more like going downhill, but not having physical symptoms, but more psychological symptoms such as risk of suicide. We will talk about depression because it's also one of the phases, according to Freudenberger. So we'll talk about that part as well. So also in regards of the stress, like I think Kolach said, like we need the stress to perform, but we also need to learn to let go of the stress, not keep ourselves in stress for a long period of time. And the best to explain it, so let's say that the cup I'm currently holding weighs 200 grams, let's say. So if I hold the cup for, let's say, 5 seconds, and I let it go and I put it down on the table, nothing happened. But if I would hold the cup for 2 hours, then I would start feeling the heaviness in my hand, and the pain would then continue across my arm, up to my shoulder, maybe to my head. So I could start having headache, and the pain continues. So imagine that the cup is the stress, right? So we really need to learn to use the stress for performance, but then let it go, because if you will hold it, that's when it will cause problems, right? Health problems, mental problems, etc. What do you guys think are the risk factors for burnout?
What do you mean by that?
For example, are there some specific job roles, professions that can lead to it, or is it connected to personality?
Both, and even more.
Let's be specific. Yeah, both and even more. Whatever more it is. I would say that if I remember well, it was firstly diagnosed. The first burnout definition was done on helping professions such as nurses, and that's actually what you can really well observe with our hospitals right now, at least here in Slovakia. I'm not sure how the situation is around the world, but we've had a lot of doctors who were burned out or nurses burned out. And if there is a nurse which is not really happy with you, it's probably because they are somehow, affected by this. It's not that they are bad people. It's just that, they feel that. So if I remember well, it's helping professions. There will be a connection towards adversity quotient. So how well you deal with any adversity, resilience. So how your personality is like.
There are certain professions that there is like really heavy stress, like you have to concentrate so hard, like surgeons, for example, or where you have the airports and those who are in that tower and leading you where the flights needs to go, etc. But I would actually even say it can be really related to any kind of a job, and it's very important to understand yourself and your capabilities, because sometimes it can be that you think I have these capabilities to do this job and you might be good at it, but actually your body is already showing you lots of signs that the stress is just too much and you are not able to cope with it. And you need to do this self-reflection and then either change the job, lower it, or just literally go do something else. And by symptoms, when body is saying symptoms, it can be headaches, loss of hair, this sort of like flakes on your skin. Like really the body is showing you the stress effects, let's say, right? So we need to be aware of that. Yes, Kolach?
The thing why helping professions were targeted was that, as you said, there is a huge stress. And the thing is that there was low amount of gratitude to these people. Like, you are a nurse, you need to take care of somebody who is in bed 24/7 for like 2 months. And when you take care of this person, the person will just, shout at you like how bad person you are because you're not helping them, everything hurts, and they need to deal with this emotional stress there, so that's how I remember that's what was the leading threat to discover the burnout, or to define the burnout as for the helping professions, that there are people who do a lot of job for the others, but they are not seeing the impact or having the gratitude from the other person.
Helping professions deal more with PTSD compared to burnout. I know that lots of policemen, army, firefighters have more PTSD than burnout. So I'm now going to take you through the 12 phases, by meaning I'm going to tell you what they are, what are their names. But in the next episode is when we will go deep dive into each and every one of them. So it will be me reading right now. Listen carefully. So according to Freudenberger, number 1 is the compulsion to prove oneself. Number 2, working harder. Number 3, neglecting their own needs. Number 4, displacement of conflicts and needs. Number 5, revision of values. Number 6, denial of problems. Number 7, withdrawal. Number 8, obvious behavioral changes. Number 9, depersonalization. Number 10, inner emptiness. Number 11, depression. And number 12, burnout syndrome. Stay tuned for the next episode where we will deep dive into each and every phase so you can better understand what it is, what are the feelings, what the person goes through. And in case you have questions, then leave a comment. Don't forget to subscribe and like us. With that, I'm gonna say 수고하셨습니다.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye. Ciao.
This podcast represents our own opinions, experience, and our own ideas. We do not represent any official statement from our employers, and this is not their official channel representing the company.